We want you to be a part of our studio audience. If you're in the Toronto area, contact us.
Well, before the break, we asked our studio audience, would you advise your children to live with their partner before marrying them? And here's how they voted. It was pretty close. 44% said yes. Just over half said no. And we've got some couples in the audience we want to hear from. It looks like we've had experience on both sides of that, of course. Crystal and Josh, let's start with you. Crystal, you've decided to live together first. Why?
Partially financially, but we knew moving in together that it was for a long-term relationship. Just we wanted to get married in a way we wanted, not in a huge, big financial, big budget wedding or anything like that, but we wanted to do it in time the way we wanted. And so it's worked for us. We've lived together for 4 years and we're getting married this year, so.
All right, okay.
Like it.
Let's go down to Jennifer and Dwayne. Would you advise your kids to live together before they got married?
Well, based on our experiences, no, I wouldn't advise my boys to live with their partner. In our experience, I think there are some things that carried over from us living together into our marriage that to this day kind of still haunt us, and coming from both families who didn't agree, I think that set the tone for certain interactions and doubts. And
I think we have another couple comment here. Thank you, guys. How about you folks?
Erica and I, my wife, we had decided that we weren't going to live together before marriage. And, I can't imagine doing it any other way. But I will say that my parents had a big impact on that decision. The way that I was raised, I was told that was the thing to do. I was raised in more of a contemporary Christian home. I think this has been the best decision of my life to do that.
Okay, how long have you and Erica been married?
We've been married a year and a half right now.
Good,
So
and it's the most amazing experience.
it's incredible. It is.
Good.
It's a blessing.
Thank you, everybody in the audience there. I just want to go back to Elizabeth and Kimberly now. And Elizabeth, as a historian of marriage, what do you think we're doing with our future as we have these discussions now? We wouldn't even had this conversation 10 years ago, maybe 10, but certainly not 20 years ago.
Well, I think that we understand that we identify that we have a problem. We're trying to figure out what to do about it, what the nature of the problem is. And I think that in discussing, in starting from this perspective, should you live together before marriage, you're actually also talking about, what marriage is about, what your intentions are, what do you expect from it, what preparation do you bring to it, and so that all of these things are what really matter. The whole idea of understanding that you don't jump in and that you prepare and so on is a really good corrective to what's been happening.
Kimberly, you think as a therapist people are quitting too soon?
Yes, and I think that's another aspect of this here is that sometimes when people do jump into a marriage, a year will go by and they say, wow, this is really hard. And, they might be giving up too soon. They might say, okay, well, these problems, they feel really big, so I'm just kind of going to get out of this. And what I find with couples is that when you look at a long-term marriage, it goes up and down, right? You're going to have a few years where things are feeling great, and then you're going to have a few years where you may not be in sync. And that's okay. That's what marriage is. And it's not going to be blissful and happy all the time. So when you live together and you have, and maybe you've moved in after 6 months or a year of dating and you're expecting it to be blissfully happy all the time, it is a very rude shock when you realize that it's not.
In fact, Elizabeth, you think history shows we have romanticized the idea of marriage.
Exactly. We have romanticized it, and we go into this huge decision, unlike if we buy a house, we research it and so on. We go into marriage informed by pop culture, by Britney Spears songs, and by all sorts of nonsensical fantasies. We don't prepare for it. We don't understand that it's real life. We focus so much on the actual wedding, this huge, expensive thing, and then comes the day after, and the years after, and it's like, boy, wow, I didn't really prepare for this.
And that's exactly like where my role as a psychotherapist would come in, is I work with a lot of couples in premarital counseling. And this is something that I think every couple should do before they get married, and even sometimes before they live together, because the counselor has the tools to bring out exactly what problems could arise when you're in close quarters with someone. And a lot of couples actually decide that they're not going to get married once they've completed the counseling. So it's a great way to get to know your partner on a very intimate level.
Okay, I'd like to ask both of you this, because over 90% of weddings are happening in churches. So why are people who aren't interested in the rules of sexuality as God would design it be wanting to get married in a church? Or if they wouldn't even be believing in God, why do they want a church wedding?
I see it partly as a romantic backdrop. They don't want to spend $2,000 on a dress and $50,000 on a wedding and then have it in some secular place. It's again, the romanticization of it. And they also are, there's often parental or family pressure to do that. And it's almost as if they hope that there'll be some, since they haven't prepared it all, there'll be some magical
some blessing will come in.
Some blessing will
Something
come.
will come
So
in.
it's not really religious so much as a religious background, trying to squeeze out of something. You know, people go into a church for the first time to get married.
Kimberly, what would you say? Why are they going to churches to get married?
I would agree with that, and I also think that, you know, for a lot of young women who are maybe planning the wedding, they've seen their mother get married in the church, they've seen their grandmother get married in the church, and it just seems like the right place to get. That's kind of how they envisioned it in their mind. So I don't know if it's necessarily because they believe in what the church stands for, but rather that's just how they imagined it.
Well, Kimberly, marriage therapist, thank you very much. And Elizabeth Abbott, the author of A History of Marriage. Fascinating stuff, much more to dig into. But when we come back, we'll hear from a pastor who will help us understand why the church is more than just a pretty backdrop for a marriage. That story next.
So why did you decide to get married now?
We want to start a family, and we just thought by tying the knot, it would kind of put everything in place.
Just something we feel is right.
I don't know. We haven't really. I'm not sure. It's to sort of make it official before starting a family.
I feel it's the next step. It's the next step. We're ready to move on and start a family, and it just feels right.